let me invite you to one of the most fascinating royal celebrations of the 20th century, a wedding for which a British prince, the future King George VI, proposed to his beloved not once, but 3 times. But just as captivating as their love story was the dazzling world of jewels that entered the life of his bride, Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. In this video, we will explore how her long-awaited yes marked the beginning of her royal journey and opened the doors to an extraordinary collection of family heirlooms that still sparkle at Windsor family occasions to this day. Why have these jewels become legendary, and what are their stories? Let's take a closer look inside the treasure trove of one of the most tender and enduring marriages in British royal history. Before we begin, please support my channel by clicking on the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. When Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon finally accepted the proposal of the Duke of York, her future husband, King George VI, many thought that the greatest intrigue was over. After all, she had turned him down twice before agreeing to this historic yes. But few could have imagined the grandeur that awaited the young couple on April 26, 1923, at Westminster Abbey. Everywhere one looked, there were crowds of Londoners, the rustling of gowns, the gleaming medals and uniforms, and at the center of it all stood the shy birdie with his radiant bride, Lady Elizabeth. Stepping out of her Mayfair home, she had already become a favorite of the public, modest and warm, with refined taste and natural charm. At the time, the Duchess of York hardly seemed destined to be a future queen. It appeared she was set for a quieter life by the side of her husband, who was far from the direct line of succession. But fate had other plans. Just 13 years later, they would take the throne, and the world would be thrown into turmoil. Yet on that spring day in 1923, the greatest concern for the public was witnessing Elizabeth's wedding attire. She appeared in a silk gown with a bodice embroidered with pearls and beads, and instead of a tiara, she chose a delicate wreath of orange blossoms. It was said that this small detail added a special romantic charm to her appearance, capturing the essence of the day's atmosphere. But what made this wedding truly unforgettable? The jewels, the gifts showered upon Elizabeth were not just symbols of love, but also keepers of secrets. Did you know that the tiara gifted by Bertie has been worn by 3 generations of royal women? Or do you know where the pendant brooch that Elizabeth adored throughout her life is today? I'll tell you more about that shortly. And what about the necklace presented by an entire city? Where did it disappear over the past century? Stay tuned to find out. Let's begin with a gift that Bertie gave to his bride from the depths of his heart. A pearl and diamond necklace that, just 6 months after the wedding, was transformed into the now famous Lotus Flower Tiara. Originally, this was an elegant strand of diamonds and pearls commissioned from Garrard, but the newlywed Duchess of York decided to modify it. She entrusted the jewelers with redesigning it into a light, delicate tiara featuring lotus motifs, complemented by diamond arches and pearl accents. This style perfectly matched the fashion of the 1920s, when smaller, refined tiaras and headpieces worn low on the forehead in the bandeau style were particularly popular. And indeed, in the first few years after its creation, the Lotus Flower Tiara appeared in portraits of the Duchess of York, which later became widely known, especially after her husband ascended the throne in 1936. But the story of this tiara did not end there. In 1937, during the coronation of George VI, Elizabeth loaned it to her elder sister, Lady Elphinstone, who wore it for the grand ceremony at Westminster Abbey. Then, in 1959, just before the wedding of her younger daughter, Princess Margaret, the Queen Mother gifted the tiara to her as a wedding present. From that moment on, the Lotus Flower Tiara became one of Princess Margaret's most beloved pieces. She wore it for decades, pairing it with both evening gowns and bold statement looks, which she was known for. After her passing in 2002, the tiara returned to the royal collection, where it remained out of sight for some time. However, in 2013, the Lotus Flower Tiara made an unexpected return. It was worn by the then Duchess of Cambridge, Catherine, for a diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace. Later, she chose the same tiara for the 2015 state banquet honoring the visit of the President of China. But that was not the last time this legendary jewel appeared in public. In 2024, the tiara was seen once again, this time worn by Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. She selected it for the state banquet held in honor of Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako of Japan, proving that this exquisite wedding gift continues to shine in the British royal family, even a century after it first entered their collection. In addition to the elegant Lotus Flower Tiara, the Duke of York presented his bride with another special gift, the teak flower brooch, which he had received from his mother, Queen Mary. This piece, created in the 19th century, has a rich history and is connected to multiple generations of the British royal family. The brooch features a delicate diamond flower, adorned with 4 teardrop-shaped diamond pendants that dangle from a fine diamond chain. Its exact origins remain unknown, but historians believe it likely belonged to Princess Mary Adelaide, Duchess of Teck, Queen Mary's mother. Some speculate that the brooch may have been passed down to her from Princess Mary, Duchess of Gloucester, daughter of King George III. Queen Mary inherited the brooch from her mother, and, as was customary in her family, passed it down as an heirloom. Elizabeth began wearing the brooch in the 1920s, pairing it with the Lotus Flower Tiara and the Strathmore Rose Tiara. It was one of her favorite brooches, alongside the one gifted to her by Queen Mary, which we will discuss later. After the Queen Mother's passing, the brooch was inherited by Queen Elizabeth II. However, it appears that the Queen was photographed wearing it only once. Next in our overview is a gift that the young Duchess of York received from her father-in-law, King George V. Among the many wedding presents, this set stood out as particularly exquisite. It included a tiara, necklace, brooch, and earrings. The key feature of all these pieces was the stunning Persian turquoise gemstones, set in diamond settings and showcasing their delicate pale blue hue. Turquoise is traditionally associated with happiness, protection, and good fortune, and during that time, it was especially prized for its pure color. The jewelers at Gerard crafted an exceptional parure for the king's new daughter-in-law, ensuring it matched her royal status. The tiara originally had a kokoshnik shape, a design typical of the early 20th century, with alternating diamond and turquoise elements creating an elegant silhouette. However, shortly after the wedding, Elizabeth made small modifications, removing the upper row of diamonds. As a result, the tiara became lighter and more refined, better suited to the young Duchess's style, as she preferred more delicate and practical jewelry. During the early years of her marriage, Elizabeth frequently wore this set. It appeared in her portraits and at formal events, and the turquoise tiara could easily have become her signature piece. However, after 1937, when her husband unexpectedly ascended the throne, her style evolved and the set disappeared from public view for a time. It wasn't until 1951 that the set reappeared, this time as a 21st birthday gift from the Queen Mother to her younger daughter, Princess Margaret. For Margaret, this was a defining piece of jewelry, marking her transition into royal life with a complete parure for official engagements. Unlike her mother, Margaret wore the set frequently and made it one of her signature jewelry collections. After her passing in 2002, the set's fate became one of the great mysteries of the royal collection. Unlike many of Margaret's other jewels, which were sold at auction to cover estate taxes, the turquoise set was never put up for sale. What happened to it? There are 2 theories. One suggests that Margaret's children, David, Earl of Snowdon, and Lady Sarah Chatto, retained the set. The second theory speculates that it returned to the royal collection and is now stored in the royal vaults. For more than 30 years, this set has not been seen in public, but perhaps one day we will see it worn again by a modern royal. If that happens, the story of this turquoise parure, which began as a wedding gift to a young Duchess of York, will continue its next chapter. Queen Alexandra lived long enough to witness her grandson's wedding and marked the occasion with a special gift, an amethyst sautoir. This gift was especially meaningful as Alexandra adored amethysts and wore them more than any other colored gemstone. The sautoir featured a long string of seed pearls, accented with diamonds and round amethysts, culminating in a large heart-shaped amethyst pendant, also surrounded by diamonds. This design was immensely popular in the 1920s, a time when long sautoir necklaces were fashionable accessories for both daytime and evening wear. As with many other wedding gifts, the sautoir was displayed among the bridal presents at Buckingham Palace, allowing guests and members of the press to admire it. It was kept in its original heart-shaped case, alongside a personal note from Queen Alexandra, written on Marlborough House stationery. "For my dear future granddaughter Elizabeth, with love from her grandmother." Unfortunately, no photographs exist of Elizabeth wearing the amethyst sautoir. However, historical records indicate that she did wear it during a significant period of her life. In 1925, when Queen Alexandra passed away, Elizabeth reportedly chose this sautoir for her mourning attire. Nearly a century later, in 2012, the necklace made a surprising reappearance, this time worn by Camilla, then Duchess of Cornwall, at the London premiere of the James Bond film Skyfall. By then, the necklace had been significantly shortened to better suit contemporary fashion, but its essential details remained unchanged. The same seed pearls, diamonds, and amethysts arranged in an elegant composition. Among all the jewels Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon received on her wedding day, one of the most remarkable was the sapphire parure gifted to her by Queen Mary. Elizabeth had always been drawn to sapphires. This gemstone perfectly complemented her favorite color palette and enhanced her elegant style. It is no surprise that this set held a significant place in her collection. The set included a sapphire fringe necklace, a large brooch, a smaller brooch, a bracelet, and a ring. However, the fate of these jewels varied. The fringe necklace, the central element of the set, was never seen in its original form in public. Perhaps it did not suit Elizabeth's taste or was too substantial for her style. However, there is reason to believe that it was later redesigned into a long sapphire sautoir, which Elizabeth frequently wore in the 1930s, and later, elements of it may have been repurposed to create sapphire earrings with diamond fringes. These Art Deco-style earrings appeared in the Queen Mother's collection sometime in the 1960s during her widowhood. They featured large sapphires surrounded by diamonds, with delicate diamond tassels hanging below, creating a soft, shimmering effect as they moved. Though she did not wear them often, they were seen on Elizabeth occasionally over the decades, particularly in the 1980s and 1990s. After her passing, the earrings were inherited by Queen Elizabeth II and remained unseen for years. However, in 2015, they suddenly resurfaced when Catherine, Princess of Wales, began wearing them. Yet, while the fate of the necklace and bracelet remains uncertain, one piece from this set undoubtedly became a defining element of the Queen Mother's style, her famous sapphire brooch, which she wore throughout her life. This brooch featured a large, deep blue sapphire, surrounded by a halo of diamonds in a classic royal setting. Elizabeth started wearing this brooch as early as the 1930s, and from then on, it was rarely absent from her wardrobe. It can be seen in countless photographs and portraits, from official state visits to intimate family gatherings. She would pin it to her shoulder or just below the collarbone, pairing it with both elegant tailored suits and light silk dresses. After her death in 2002, the brooch, like most of her jewels, passed into the collection of Queen Elizabeth II. However, unlike other historic pieces, it was never seen worn by any modern member of the royal family. Perhaps this is because the brooch is so closely associated with the Queen Mother that no one else feels comfortable wearing it. Will it eventually be passed down to Catherine or Queen Camilla, or will it remain a private relic of the Queen Mother? Interestingly, the smaller sapphire brooch from Queen Mary's set has also survived. It was frequently worn by Princess Margaret, and now it can be seen on her daughter, Lady Sarah Chatto. In addition to the magnificent sapphire parure, Queen Mary also gifted Elizabeth the York Rose brooch, a symbolic piece tied to her new title as Duchess of York. Originally, this brooch belonged to Queen Mary and had been gifted to her in 1893 by the West Yorkshire Regiment to commemorate her marriage to the future King George V. In her early years as Duchess of York, Mary frequently wore it pinned to the collars of her dresses, especially in the late 1890s. The gift held special significance for Elizabeth, as the white rose is a historic symbol of the House of York. When, in 1923, her son, the Duke of York, married Lady Elizabeth, Queen Mary decided to pass the brooch on to the new Duchess, emphasizing the continuity of the title. However, unlike other pieces in her collection, Elizabeth did not seem particularly fond of this accessory, and it was rarely seen in her ensembles. Later, Elizabeth gifted the brooch to her daughter, Queen Elizabeth II, who used it to secure the sash of an order during a visit to France. Even in her collection, however, the brooch appeared very infrequently. Today, this jewel has once again resurfaced in the public eye. It was worn by Camilla, then Duchess of Cornwall, who also used it to secure her order sash. Among the most sentimental wedding gifts received by Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon was the Strathmore Rose Tiara, presented to her by her father, the Earl of Strathmore. Unlike more formal pieces, such as King George V's turquoise set or Queen Mary's sapphires, this tiara was primarily a token of familial love. The tiara, purchased from Catchpole and Williams, featured a delicate garland of diamond roses with small diamond leaves set between them. One of its most unique qualities was that it could be worn in two ways, either on a traditional frame as a classic tiara or in the bandeau style, popular at the time, worn low across the forehead. Elizabeth preferred the latter, embracing the Art Deco aesthetic that was so fashionable in the 1920s. During the early years of her marriage, the Duchess of York frequently appeared in this tiara for official portraits and social events. However, over time, particularly after she became Queen Consort, Elizabeth almost entirely abandoned this piece in favor of grander jewels. Interestingly, this tiara was never sold or passed down to another family member, but for decades it remained hidden away in the royal collection, unseen by the public. It was displayed only twice, first at the 2002 Royal Jewels exhibition, shortly after the Queen Mother's death, and again in 2012, in the book The Queen's Diamonds, where it was photographed in detail. For years, the Strathmore Rose Tiara was considered a forgotten jewel until an unexpected comeback in 2023. Exactly 100 years after it was gifted to the young Duchess of York, it was selected for an official engagement by Catherine, Princess of Wales. She wore it for the state banquet in honor of the President of South Korea, reigniting public interest in this unique tiara. From her mother, the Countess of Strathmore, the future queen received a pearl and diamond necklace and bracelet, designed in line with the prevailing jewelry trends of the 1920s. At the time, pearl sautoir, long necklaces often ending in elegant tassels or diamond embellishments, were at the height of fashion. It was no surprise that one of these stylish accessories became a wedding gift for the young Duchess of York. The defining feature of the sautoir from the Countess of Strathmore was its delicate pearl tassel, which gave the necklace a sense of lightness and additional elegance. Unfortunately, there are very few known photographs of Elizabeth wearing this necklace. However, one confirmed appearance was in October 1923, at the wedding of Prince Paul of Yugoslavia and Princess Olga of Greece. In addition to the necklace, the Countess of Strathmore gifted her daughter a pearl and diamond bracelet. The bracelet appeared in some of the Duchess's portraits, but very few images provide a clear view of it. It is believed that in 1937, when Elizabeth, now Queen Consort, posed for a series of official portraits, the artist drawing her likeness took inspiration from those very photographs, and the bracelet was immortalized in a painting that later hung in King George VI's study. Today, the fate of these jewels remains unknown. They may still be preserved in the royal collection, but no modern members of the family have been seen wearing them in public. If the sautoir and bracelet have survived, seeing them in high-resolution modern photographs would be a remarkable discovery for royal jewelry enthusiasts. Among the wedding gifts received by the Duchess of York, the pearl and diamond sautoir from the City of London stood out not only for its beauty, but also for its symbolic significance. This necklace was presented by the citizens and city authorities of London as a gesture of appreciation and a wedding congratulations. This sautoir, created by Carrington, was a masterpiece of fine jewelry. It featured 5 rows of tiny pearls strung on delicate platinum wires, lending the necklace an airy and flexible quality. The piece also featured diamond side elements, and its most striking component was a large pearl pendant set on a triangular diamond base. Elizabeth wore this necklace most frequently in the early years of her marriage, when pearl sautoir were still a fashionable and essential part of a woman's wardrobe. However, as fashion changed over time, the necklace gradually disappeared from public appearances. None of the later generations of the Windsor family have ever been seen wearing this sautoir, making its current whereabouts one of the mysteries of the royal collection. It is possible that the necklace remains among the royal family's relics, waiting for its return to the public eye. In addition to major and significant wedding gifts, such as tiaras, sautoirs, and gemstone parures, the Duchess of York received numerous smaller yet exquisite jewelry pieces presented to her by family members, friends, and close associates. Though these jewels did not always appear publicly, they were part of her personal collection, reflecting the warmth and respect of those who gifted them. Among these treasures was a diamond brooch gifted by Princess Maud, daughter of King Edward VII. Though a small and delicate piece, it symbolized the continuity of royal family traditions. The future Queen Mother also received a diamond bow brooch from Mrs. Arthur James, her godmother, Mary Venetia Cavendish Bentinck. This was a particularly meaningful gift, as Mrs. James was not only related to Elizabeth through her mother's side, but also a close friend of the royal family. Later, this brooch became one of Elizabeth's signature pieces, and she often used it to secure the stems of poppies for Remembrance Day ceremonies. After the Queen Mother's death, this brooch was worn on several occasions by Camilla during her time as Duchess of Cornwall. The gifts also included a flexible diamond bracelet presented by Lord Revelstoke. As a senior partner of Barings Bank, he offered a luxurious gift fit for a royal bride. Additionally, Elizabeth's jewelry collection was enriched with several unique pieces, including a ruby and diamond ring from Cora, Countess of Strafford, a ruby and diamond tie pin from Lady Laking, a diamond bird brooch from the Countess of Moray, an onyx and diamond pin from the Earl and Countess of Lisburn. Though these jewels are less well known, they complemented Elizabeth's jewelry wardrobe, and some of them were likely worn at less formal occasions. That's all for now. Which of these royal jewels fascinated you the most? Did you enjoy the story of the Lotus Flower Tiara, Queen Alexandra's amethyst sautoir, or were you more intrigued by the mystery of the missing jewels? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. This helps YouTube recommend it to more viewers. And if you want to continue exploring the world of royal jewelry, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.